Hey everyone, Mike Sauter, Chuck Mulligan, back with another episode of Mike Chuck, where we talk all things wrestling, mainly high school wrestling in the state of Nebraska. I'm going to move my microphone over so you can actually hear what I'm saying. How about that? Hey, Chuck.
Attaboy.
Hey, Chuck. I got a question.
What
were we doing here? What were we doing?
It was a Denim and Diamonds party. I was wearing a shiny jacket.
We can talk about that
old holiday
later.
Work party.
We can talk about that later. I just thought it was interesting. There's more to that photo.
I hate you so much. Why do you always have to pick on me?
There's more to that. We can maybe get to later. But yeah, I made stories about you. But yeah, we got a lot to talk about. There's Ticketgate. Ticketgate's a big thing. There were some major upsets, kind of some stuff that happened this last week on the wrestling mat. We'll talk about that. But this week's guest, it's his turn, is the man. The man. I don't know about myth. Probably more of a legend. Definitely not mythical, but we'll go with legendary. Is that fair?
Part of the hardest working group out there.
Yeah, I mean, feel good about that. Is Drew Kastler from NeWrestle. There's Drew. Hey, Drew, how we doing?
Great, fellas. How's it going?
Good. You don't
What's up, Drew?
You don't like it when people talk like nice things about you, do you?
Oh, I don't care. I appreciate the flattery.
Oh, all right.
I really
can you
do
give
like
us
that.
a thumbs
I like that
up? I'm
picture
trying to
of
see
Chuck.
something real quick.
Oh, no, I'm not doing that this week. I'm going to try not to. I don't know what to do with my hands.
What about this? Can you do this?
I'm going to hold off. At some point, I probably will just because I'm going to get excited. But
yeah. Okay. Well, we got a lot to talk about with you, Drew. You're our only guest tonight, and there's definitely a lot to talk about. Let's get to the hot topic in Nebraska high school wrestling, which is Ticketgate.
Yeah.
So a lot has been said. I guess information has been shared, whether it's factual or not. There's a lot of misinformation.
It's a whole thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of misinformation out there. But in the grand scope of things, how is this? Mecca or the CHI Health Center and the NSAA, according to, if you ask the wrong person, they will say they took away our tickets. We don't have our regular allotment of tickets that we've had for years. You know, our school that qualifies 10 wrestlers doesn't get our 225 tickets. Well, that's probably too much anyway. But there's actually like light at the end of the tunnel. So Drew, tell us what you know, and then Chuck, you and I can kind of chime in and what we maybe know and have maybe heard, and then kind of we'll break some myths here about Ticketgate. So Drew, you start, and what have you heard?
I've heard a lot, and the first thing that everyone should, I get it. It's staggering, right? Some schools didn't get half their tickets or more. The first and foremost, we'd rather be in this situation than not.
Right.
You know, it's great the sport's gaining in popularity. We have girls wrestling, tons of girls wrestling, and that's a factor. Of course, you have girls teams and potential state qualifiers and more people ordering tickets, and inevitably we arrive at this situation. Well, there's not going to be more or less people wrestling Friday night and Saturday than there ever has the last couple of years when we've had girls wrestling. It's the same number of kids. And last year, Friday night, I heard this from the horse's mouth. I'm sure it's okay to share.
Yep.
They had over 2,000 tickets that didn't get scanned at the gate on Friday night.
Correct.
Sold out. The tickets are sold, but people aren't coming because, you know, little Susie or little Timmy got beat out of the tournament. Well, you know, silver lining or whatever you want to call it, those tickets are probably going to get fed to someone else who actually wants to go and be there. And when you factor in standing room only tickets, which there are, you're going to look at around 3,000 tickets from last year that didn't get used. So that is a thing. There will be opportunity. Schools are just getting their allotments now. We're not talking about tickets being on sale. We're not talking about, the additional tickets on Saturday. We're not talking about any of that. And I guess I'm sorry. I understand that maybe we probably should have found out about this sooner. Right? Like, you count the tickets, their orders are in
That's the
November.
only thing I've said
Right.
about it all along.
Right.
The communication part of it.
But I mean, if you're, and I'm just going to throw out numbers, okay? Like, if you're a smaller town, a Class C school, and let's just say you ordered 80 tickets for your boys and 20 for your girls, and you're not even going to have a single girls state qualifier, and the writing's on the wall, you're going to have 20 additional tickets right there. There's not going to be very many girls teams with 169 schools in girls wrestling in one class that are going to be qualifying a huge number of kids. And
you're not going to get all 14.
You're not going to get all 14. You're not going to get 10. I mean, Grand Island might, but you're not going to get 10 girls out there. So if you ordered 100 some girls tickets for state, and you may have only got 60 of those, I don't know, but even 60 is probably a stretch. And at the end of the day, you're doing it this way. I don't know if there's extra seats. I don't know what the count is. And you guys, Mike, you may have talked to Ron a little bit about it, but at the end of the day, a full arena on Friday night and Saturday is going to be awesome. And it has never actually truly been that way before.
Right. It is a good problem to have.
Agreed.
Like, we could be in a state where there's 2,000 people that want a ticket and everyone that just walks up and gets a ticket. I mean, there's states like that, or could be in a state where they have different classes in different parts of the state and not everyone gets to see everybody. And I mean, that could be a thing. So it is a good problem to have. What I do know is a couple of things. The CHI Health Center or Mecca, every event that they have at the arena is a reserved seat ticket.
Right.
Every single one. So whether it's a concert or whatever, it's a reserved seat ticket. Only the championships, or wrestling is the only state championships that the NSAA puts on that have where they allow schools to order tickets in advance. And up until this year, even, that clearly obviously has changed. Like, you're not getting all of the tickets that you requested. But again, like you said, Drew, you're absolutely correct. Friday night, there are multiple tickets that go unscanned. When that happens, then they will open up a number of tickets. They did it last year where they opened up a number of tickets, walk-up tickets people can buy as they walk up, because the number of tickets scanned doesn't hit the number to be a sellout, if you will. So there's 12,400 is the seating capacity for the semifinals and basically Thursday and Friday. And then Saturday for the finals, 14,000 is the capacity because they take away the extra mats, right? That break in time, they add seats. So they add about 2,000 more seats. So there's always going to be tickets to buy. It's just, did you get them the reserved one or the ones that you wanted from the school beforehand, etc. If you show up to state wrestling and you want to buy a ticket and you want to get in, the odds of you getting in are very good. You probably are just going to have to jump through a little more hoops, be a little more patient, but you're not going to be denied. They have, even with being sold out or 12,000 or whatever the number has been, they've never turned anyone away. So, like, they've never turned anyone away from state wrestling that's wanted to get in or buy a ticket. So if you want to buy a ticket, you can get in. And frankly, like, if you buy a standing room only ticket and your son or daughter isn't in the lower weight classes, the odds of you finding a seat are probably pretty good, because once people win or lose, they will leave the arena, and then you can just go kind of sit in their seat. So that's kind of what I know.
It's easy to overreact right now. It is.
Right.
Emotions are easy to take. It's easy to have a knee-jerk reaction, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get some schools are saying, well, we got 50% of our tickets slashed. It's going by percentages isn't a fair assessment, right?
No, it's not. It's not, because here's why. How the ticket allotment worked and is working, or the math has changed, I guess, with the way they've done things, so Class A has less schools than Class D. Class D is the largest class, right? When I say schools, I mean just there's Class A has 32 teams or whatever the number is, right? It's a lot smaller, significantly smaller than Class D. Class D has 100 whatever number of schools in Class D. So how they allotted the tickets is based off of those numbers. So it's per class. So Class C has more than Class B probably, or Class C has more than A, and Class D is the biggest as far as school size or number of schools in it.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you throw in girls. Girls a separate classification. It's not my kid goes to Millard South and wrestles on the girls team, then it's not lumped into Class A. Girls is its separate.
Its own entity.
Yeah, own thing as far as the numbers are concerned, with the number of tickets that were allotted to schools. So it's, allocation.
It's not perfect.
Yeah, allocations were per class, and that's why the number changed. Again, if you want to get in, you'll be able to get in. If you want to buy a ticket, you'll be able to buy a ticket. You'll be able
just don't buy a session 1 through 4 ticket. This is a public service announcement for the people. Do not buy a session 1 through 4 ticket on an aftermarket site for more than $10. There's some on there for $190, $200, $400. Those sessions are half of the classes. It will not be full. You will get in. You can buy a ticket at the freaking gate. Don't buy aftermarket tickets for 1 through 4.
Here's another thing. The third-party vendors that are selling tickets right now, they don't have possession of those tickets because no ticket has been made available to the public yet. So if you're buying tickets or you see tickets on third-party sites or vendors that aren't, direct through CHI or Ticketmaster, they don't even have them. So they're hoping to get some from somewhere, somehow, some way. Don't buy them yet. Don't buy them from there. I very much so. That is a message. I will say not from me, from people that have done these things for a very long time. That the third parties are advertising tickets that they do not have possession of right now. So don't buy them right now. They don't even have them to give you if you wanted to go pick them up.
And it's easy with all the panic and it's rather shocking. So we are going to do like a ticket exchange. I talked to Ron about it, talked to Ethan about it, and just to help facilitate people that might be looking or might be willing to sell. That's going to be the big thing, right? If you have tickets that you aren't going to use for Friday night and Saturday, you sell them, right? Well, people that are jumping into that, no one has any idea how the process actually works. It's just like, holy crap, I didn't get tickets. I need to buy some for the whole entire thing. Every school got their full allotment for the first 4 sessions. There's no shortage for those sessions. So, and after those first 4 sessions, half the field is eliminated. So
you don't even know if you feel pretty good if your son or daughter is going to make it, farther because you've wrestled all year.
Yep.
But sometimes, I don't know, 50%, you don't know. Like, you don't know if they're going to make it to Friday night or Saturday. So just calm down, be patient. Like, it'll be okay. Go ahead, Chuck.
I mean, let's be honest. I mean, getting 5, if it works out to where you get 5 tickets per qualifier through the school, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Think about graduations. I know in OPS that you were only getting like 3 to 5 tickets for graduation. You know what I mean? So you're
Right.
not just going to walk in and say, I'm getting all these tickets for my 6th cousin down the line or my kids' club. That's not really what these school orders are for.
Yeah. At the end of the day, there's going to be people who probably, when the ticket orders are made, didn't realize their daughter was going to be a total BA her first year of high school wrestling ever, and she's going to maybe qualify for state. I know I've seen a few people who are like, we didn't even know you had to order tickets in November, or like with the school, like they didn't even know. And with the last name of a kid who is top 3 in the state. Now there's going to be those situations where it's easy to panic, but like you said, Mike, Chuck, dude, we're still 3-4 weeks away from being there. So
it'll all get worked out.
Figure it out.
If you want to get in, you can get in. So just calm down. And Drew, badass is acceptable. You can say.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Or you can just say Chuck.
So do you guys want to get into
the opposite? First of all, let me clarify something. If anyone ever calls Chuck a badass, you got to come find me because I got video evidence. So
I think I watched it.
Yeah,
I think I watched a lot.
I'm just saying. So if you think
just kidding.
If you think that
I hate you both so
whatever
much.
this guy over here, over there, this guy, I can't point. Whatever, Chuck, the guy to my side is a badass. You come find me because I will show you differently. So anyway, let's see. Okay, moving on.
Surprise for everyone.
Moving on from Ticketgate, let's talk about wrestling. What happened, particularly Tuesday night this week? Shocking results, I guess. What was the most shocking
upset?
Well, I think everyone is pretty shocked that Mason Peterson beat Miles Anderson. That's huge. I did not see that happening because Miles texted him like a week or two ago, 20-5.
Yeah.
Miles is the man, though. I'm not worried about Miles at all. Mason Peterson was made a run in Fargo.
He's not a slouch.
The dude is legit. I mean, there's a reason why he's ranked number 2. And obviously did a little bit of regrouping there and came back with a good game plan, which is awesome. Good for him. The Bo Johnson over Brody Jensen in Class D. That's a Plainview kid. I'm gonna give a plug for Boyer's Plainview Pirates. They have I don't think they have a single senior on the roster. They're going to be really good in a year or two, and probably back to winning state titles. They have an 8th grader might even beat their starting 106, who's got a case to be number 1 in Class D. And then the Odin Anschutz from Plattsmouth, he's awesome. He's had a great year already. Some big wins, and Caden Coyle bumped up and got the first takedown. Was running a wing and got a little out of position on the wing, and Anschutz pinned him. Man, I mean, those guys wrestle year round, and what impresses me the most about these matches, though, is, I mean, I watched the Coyle one live, and his home crowd, he took a second, regrouped, got up, shook the kid's hand, shook the coach's hand, walked off the mat. Like you wouldn't even guess, at all. And so ultimately it doesn't matter this time of year.
Right.
So Miles has lost matches, Coyle's lost matches this season. They weren't protecting an undefeated record or anything like that. Coyle bumped up for his team, and Millard South has ran a freaking gauntlet lately. They wrestled like duel, tournament, duel, all within a week. I mean, it's crazy. So
and then Liberty, Missouri comes I mean, they go to Liberty this year, right? Is that right?
No, Liberty's coming back to Millard South again.
Yeah, that's right.
That's there on Thursday, and I mean that's Liberty's ranked number 26 in the nation. That'll be an uphill battle for Millard South. I know Mink has been out of the lineup. Henry O'Reilly didn't wrestle the second duel the other day. Aiden Miller's been out a few times. I mean, Millard South's banged up, and even if they were full strength, they'd need a good day, and so that's going to be a banger at Millard South on Thursday for sure.
And Class B, looking ahead real quick, while we're on it, Waverly and York is a big one at Waverly Thursday.
That one is not happening. That one's off the docket. Yep, that's done. Not going to happen.
Why? Do you know? Wild card.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's some implications there. York is sitting in 8th, and Bennington is in 9th. York had a lot of bad luck with their scheduling. They were supposed to duel Milford and Aurora in a triangular, and as Milford was on their way to Aurora, their school administrators told them to turn around and go back to Milford. York went there and won the duel, but actually hurt them for points because of Aurora's record. And if they would have beaten Milford, they would have gotten 50 points because Milford's undefeated.
Right.
They couldn't find a date to reschedule the duel. Then York goes to UNK. This is really getting in the weeds. Yeah. So if you want to just.
Oh, yeah, I do. I like the weeds here.
Yeah. York. So York goes to the UNK duels, which has tons of good teams in it. Right?
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah.
And Minden, who's number 3 in Class C, I should know that really off the top of my head because I ranked Class C. But between the duels and tournament team, they're ranked in the top 4 in both of them. Mm-hmm. And Minden lost to Kearney JV, which Kearney JV doesn't count as a full-fledged like Class A win over a great team. Which if they would have dueled Minden, who has a phenomenal duel record, then they would have gotten 50 points for dueling Minden. And then Kearney JV also beat another team that York could have wrestled, and the same situation, they would have gotten a higher tier of points had they wrestled them instead of Kearney JV. So York goes out of UNK duels without that. Well, they try to reschedule Milford, and Milford's got conference and they had a Tuesday tournament this week. They're just, they're not going to do it. So York is basically in a position where they can't. I mean, if they lose to Waverly, they're out, and it didn't work out. I mean, you can call it what you want to call it. I don't know. I mean, I know that York really tried hard to reschedule their duels, and a lot of people wouldn't. And the one they did reschedule with Waverly wasn't going to pan out very well, probably. And if Bennington beats Papillion La Vista tomorrow, anyways, Bennington's in. If Papillion La Vista beats Bennington, York is in, and they'll still have to duel Waverly in the first round of state duels, anyways. So there you go. In the weeds.
Yeah. Sounds like some wild card manipulation. So.
I mean, I think there's a lot of gamesmanship going on outside of. I mean, yeah, it's pretty in your face with York, but if they at the time would have been like, rather than rescheduling right away,
right,
they would have realized that all these other teams aren't rescheduling them, and it just it ultimately and that happens in other sports.
Oh yeah.
And other things. So, I mean, it's not unheard of. And then it's going on in every class. That's just because it was a high profile duel. It's just a little more in your face.
Yeah. And it does happen like basketball right now. They're trying to reschedule a bunch of games. People aren't going to reschedule them based off of like, if this win would be a good win and points and stuff. So they're just
wild card points. And
stuff. They're not playing in the game. So yes, that is very much so happening. And frankly, like some of the schools know what's going to happen, like you kind of know if you get your butt kicked or not. So,
yeah, I mean, and I mean, York's got a phenomenal team, but they're not.
Right. Yeah. I'm not saying that. So,
but yeah, but that like Bennington and Papillion La Vista tomorrow. I mean, if you're
big one.
If you're not watching Millard South and Liberty on NeWrestle, then you should probably watch Bennington and La Vista because I'm not
That was
sure
a great
what the-
plug, by the way. Great plug.
Thank you.
I'm okay with that.
But that's I mean that's huge for Bennington, right? They
Yeah.
had guys drop weights to, they were kind of out of the picture for state duels. They had guys drop weights and everything. They beat Scud at their own dual tournament, and then all of a sudden, at one point it didn't look like they have this chance. They had, they were around 500, and now they've been on a roll. They had a crazy duel with Plattsmouth. Did you guys watch that one at all?
Yeah.
I was just about to bring that up. Plattsmouth almost shut the door on their state.
Dude, oh my gosh. Plattsmouth was ahead 30-6, and then Bennington hit the strong part of their lineup. And it came down to the last match. But Bennington took the lead with one match to go. And then Lane Bieber, I don't know how to say it. He got a pin in a match against a ranked wrestler to win the duel, to clinch it for Bennington, to keep them alive, which is kind of crazy. So if they make the state duels, shout out to him.
Chuck, what were you
How
gonna say?
crazy has this year been in general? I mean, I feel like with all the cancellations, and I feel like we've seen a lot of upsets this year, which is cool because that just means wrestling's getting better in the state.
Yep. I agree.
But this has just been a really fun year. Really fun year to just follow wrestling.
Chaotic. It's always chaotic, like when tournaments get canceled and then Millard South ends up in Lexington, Nebraska,
Yeah.
for that tournament. Like, and that tournament was already awesome to begin with. And so sometimes it makes things a little more exciting because you do get matches you never see in a standard year.
A Class C1 versus a Class A1.
Right. Yeah.
Look ahead, I guess to the girls side of things, would finish up with girls here this weekend.
Yeah.
Pretty big for them, right? Isn't state duels, right? Or girls state duels?
Yes. They're calling it the NSWCA, which is, Manstedt and Painter and those awesome guys. And they're doing the
In
NSWCA
Columbus, right?
girl. It's in Pierce.
Or Pierce.
It's in Pierce. Yep. The NSWCA girls state duels invitational. So there's no point system for it this year. This was all worked out before the season started. They talked to the teams that at the time they knew were going to have close to full lineups, right? Because if you're going to have a dual tournament, you want to have a lot of matches. There were unknowns. Omaha Scud's going to do great at state, but they have 6 girls, and then West Side, we didn't know how many they'd have outside of their top group. So there's teams in there that or teams that are missing that you might be like, well, why are they missing? Well, there was too many unknowns. That Millard South has a bunch of girls. Grand Island's got 50 in their wrestling room. Norfolk is big. So you're going to get teams that have close to full lineups. South Sioux City, Papillion La Vista, Minden always has a bunch of girls. And then there were teams that have a lot of girls that weren't able to make it work, conference tournaments, other things of that nature. So it is really neat that they're doing something like that. And it's, I assume, ultimately, just like the girls' state tournament, it started out NSWCA, stepped up to the plate, had that for 3 years. And then now we have NSAA state wrestling, and I assume that it'll be similar. We'll have a few years of NSWCA duels, and then we'll get the girls' state duels going officially.
Yeah, speaking of that. Go ahead, keep going.
One girls team I wanted to give a quick shout out to is Bellevue East. Man, they looked really good at Metros, and they've got a lot of girls.
They did well at Weeping Water too. I think they got third, and there's like 30 some teams at that one. Yeah, Bellevue East, shout out for sure, Coach Ersick.
So
my man Scurzy.
There's been obviously some public talk on girls adding in a second class and what that means for the state tournament and how that works, and how do they add a day or does it move, or those sort of conversations. I will tell you those conversations have begun. I do know that. As far as how to manage it, meaning do they add it? Do they move it? Do they they're working through those things as far as what to do with adding a second girls class? It's coming. They're going to add a second girls class. It's just a matter of the logistics part of the state tournament part and what that what that maybe looks like, which if you add a second class, you can't have a 3-day state tournament. There's just no way to put boys and girls in the same location. So it's going to be 4 days. I feel pretty good about it being 4 days. I don't know that for a fact. Nothing's been decided, but it feels like it's going to be a 4-day tournament in Omaha.
Yeah. I feel like the ticket thing is kind of taken over that whole conversation, you know, because it wasn't, but within the last week where that article came out, and, you know, it's what people I think need to understand is that there's not going to be an ideal, you know, situation for everybody.
Not yet.
Not yet. But you can't even say right now that what ends up being the case isn't better overall. Nobody really knows. You know, I wrestled in Nebraska, and I wrestled Friday night at the Devaney Center. I'm dating myself, but I wrestled Friday night at Devaney, and it was as cool of a memory as I have in my memory bank. And so selfishly, it's like, yeah, like we don't want to take Friday night off the table for the state wrestling tournament, but you might have to. Maybe it's for a year or two. Who knows? It's just a situation we're growing sport. At the end of the day, having girls wrestling blow up it's the best thing ever for the sport of wrestling. And if that means giving them the same venue and the same opportunity as the boys, splitting up the girls, A and B boys with A girls, C and D boys with B girls, whatever that ends up being, the decision hasn't been made. There's probably other, you know, options being floated, and you know, whatever the decision is, maybe that's not the long-term decision either. We don't know.
Of those options, though, one key thing to keep in mind here is you can't, one idea is to move this girls state wrestling tournament with the 2 classes to the Buffalo County Fairgrounds the Thursday and Friday before boys state duels. Logistically, you could make it work. It'd be hard. But logistically, it makes sense. It kind of makes sense, all of that. But also, you have to have the gender equality piece. And from the NSAA's perspective, that is very important, because the last thing they want is sued for something like that, Title IX. So you have to be real careful with that. One option.
I hope that's. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'd say one option would be to have the girls just be at Devaney and have the boys at CHI in Omaha. That would be cool. And that's
at separate times, though. At separate times, because I want to be at all of it.
Yeah, but I will say you can't. I don't know what happened to Chuck.
We lost Chuck. Chuck, no.
But
did you guys kick me out?
No, I have no idea. But one thing to keep in mind there too is, like, the NSA staff is only so big, and the logistics of having it. When would you do it? Is my thing. Like,
it's tough. That's a very tough question. And if you had it at a different time, what would need moved in order to accommodate it at a different time?
Right. And you can't,
because there's it's not just NSAA staff. We're talking officials and volunteers, and I mean it takes a lot. I mean,
we're very short on officials, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I haven't heard that 700 times in the last little bit, a couple years. But you also, one thing with that too is the logistical part is kind of a nightmare, right? Like, and you also have to think CHI's main tenant in the winter is Creighton men's basketball.
They're okay.
They are. I highly doubt that Creighton men's basketball is going to want to be out of their home arena like Tuesday through Saturday.
I really think
in February, you know what I'm saying? So, like, those are considerations that people have to think about too, going through it. There's just a lot of stuff. And obviously I feel strongly that the people in charge of making those decisions are in the right spot and know what they're doing.
Well,
At the end of it,
we wouldn't be in, and maybe you were going to say this, Chuck. We wouldn't even be having these conversations if it weren't for those people. If it weren't for Ron Higdon, the state tournament, it's way cooler now than when I was in high school. Like they find a way to make it cooler, more presentable, better every freaking year. I mean, it is awesome, and not every state has it, and Nebraska does, and they're going to do whatever they can to keep that as intact as they can.
Friday, I mean, the semifinal night at state wrestling is the most electric high school night of any state championship, anything that happens in the state as far as high school sports, in my opinion. And you are talking to a guy that has been to every single state championship at least once, every sport, including boys and girls golf, except for swimming and bowling. So
cross country's electric.
I've been there. I've been to, what I'm saying, I mean, I've been to all of that. Friday night is the best.
There's nothing that compares to it.
Yeah, nothing. So it'll all get worked out. It's also kind of, let's just calm down.
Calm down. Look and see what other states are doing too. I mean, like, I'm not saying Iowa's got it all figured out and they have a different governing body for the girls, but the girls start their season 2 weeks earlier in Iowa, and they have their state tournament at a pretty cool venue. They have fog coming out of the deal when they come out, and it's the sole focus is on them, right? I mean, you can have 2,000 people in a room and have it be as loud as 12,000 and as fun and as cool, more intimate, better media coverage. I mean, it's not. I'm not saying that that's where we're heading at all. I'm just saying, like, no matter what happens, the world is not ending. The COVID year where the state tournament was split up in 2 classes, that was, I mean, like, this is kind of selfish, but from a coverage standpoint, it was the best ever. There's half the matches going on. You cover more kids, you see more people. It's easier to move around. Yeah, I don't know. There's always a silver lining. But
there wasn't as many grandmas with a camera with a button of their favorite wrestler that might be their grandson in the media section.
Right. Yeah.
That's my grandson's best friend's cousin.
No, we're talking like real grandmas or moms with the actual shirts of the school that,
Apparently you cannot cheer while wearing media stuff.
Oh, you're not. I mean, you're not supposed. Yeah, if you're on the floor as media or a volunteer worker, that like.
He doesn't know what you're talking about.
Oh, you got in trouble for that, didn't you?
Yes. Not only Chuck. Someone else had to have a conversation about it too.
First of all, I didn't know who the guy was that was yelling at me, so that didn't help.
Pretty important. Yeah.
Yeah. So I learned a tough lesson that day.
Chuck had to issue an apology.
And I'm not good at those. But so one thing I wanted to say though, I think that Ron Higdon has earned all of our trust that this is going to work out fine. Drew kind of touched on it where, we've always had a pretty cool state tournament. The Friday night's always been electric, but I mean, what Ron Higdon has done for wrestling, high school wrestling in Nebraska, I mean, it's borderline amazing. I mean,
nobody's done more. Nobody,
yeah. And that's no hit against the people before him. But what he's done, he's just elevated it by miles. Mm-hmm. So I think we all just need to take a deep breath, relax, and just trust what's going on.
Right. And then, okay, one last thing, Drew. Though, let's go down memory lane. One of the coolest things about wrestling at Devaney is the floor. So that the wood, like the gym floor at Devaney, is it's not one of those you take it in and take it out. There's no concrete underneath it. And that is also why Nebraska volleyball, when they redid Devaney, they did not touch the floor. They didn't, because it has like extra bounce in it and spring. Because if you ever walked on Devaney's floor, you feel like, oh man, it's like moving, right? So one of the coolest things is when you like slam somebody on Devaney on the floor and you just felt Yeah, that sucker just shook, and it was awesome. So,
yeah, I remember the banners. Do you remember the banners?
Yeah,
The banners were awesome.
Kind of sweet.
Yeah,
The banners are awesome. And there was no room in there. I've seen a lot of takes on the ticket thing, and the one that gets me is let's just move it back to Lincoln to somewhere smaller with less seating capacity. Is that what we're gonna do? Really?
You're
Less
never
floor space.
Yeah, you can't fit you can't fit all the mats in there.
No,
the mats were up against the bleachers. Taylor McCord got a concussion and he was ranked number 1 in the state, got a concussion and had to forfeit out of the tournament because he ran into the bleachers.
Yeah. Well, even at the Pinnacle Bank, the seating, I don't know the exact seating, but they don't have room for the underneath at all. So it's not an option.
The floor space is smaller too.
Yeah, you can't have, because the one open end isn't as big as the CHI. Well, CHI doesn't have open anymore, but I guess that one side they do. But that floor space or that open space isn't as big. You can't. It doesn't seat as many people, so or it wouldn't for that. I guess would be my thing. But another cool thing about Devaney was you got to warm up in Nebraska's wrestling room.
That was super cool.
That was cool. Mm-hmm. Wait in there too,
and the bleachers up at the top.
Oh, the wood bleachers.
Yeah, wood bleachers,
and the little ice cream with the wooden spoons.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Chocolate malt. Chocolate malt.
So here's one for you guys. I'm sure maybe you've seen it, but a little Nebraska D1 match coming up. The Huskers duel Northwestern and Wisconsin this weekend, but. Max. I don't know how this never happens like at this level in a Big Ten duel. Antrell Taylor and Max Mayfield are going to wrestle each other Friday night. They're both ranked in the top 20, and they were Manili kids when they were little, and they wrestled at MWC together for 4 years at the club level, and they're going to probably duke it out Friday at I think 7:00. So.
Yeah, and they're not going to take. It's not going to be friendly. They're friends off the map. Those guys do not wrestle friendly with anybody.
Yeah. And they're very different stylistically too. It should. I'm excited to watch it. It should be a good match.
Yeah, should be fun. All right. Well, thanks, Drew. Thanks for providing a little clarity on the ticket.
You too, man. You got a lot of info.
I just complained all day.
When you don't,
you and I were texting this morning like, rah, rah, rah.
You actually before you should speak on something, you should probably go to the source
that's what we were upset about, is that we felt that people were making a bigger deal about it than it should be right now.
Yeah, it just didn't make sense. Just calm down. You're gonna get tickets. If you want a ticket, you'll get a ticket.
Get down to the if you're local, get down to the box office Monday morning after districts.
Yeah. Or if you're not, well, find someone that lives in Omaha.
This is the last week of the regular season, fellas. I mean, we got girls sub districts and boys state duels next week, and then boys districts. I mean, we're going. We're ramping up. The excitement's high. People are getting excited.
Yeah.
Also, keep calm. We'll be okay.
I'm gonna plug one thing, and Chuck, we haven't really talked about this, but our annual talk with Mr. Ron Higdon will be next week's episode of the Mike Chuck Show. So we'll provide even more clarity on Ticketgate and ask a bunch of different questions that, and get a public answer from.
Yeah, and for the love of Pete, people, like Ron Higdon has done so much. Just like take a deep breath, lay off. It's not just solely one person or organization's fault. There's so many things at play here. Like, let it ride.
Yeah,
we'll see you in Omaha.
Yeah.
Ron Higdon is not out for anyone.
Yeah, trust me.
There's no. I mean, we saw like. There's a buddy system, like only the in schools are going to get all their tickets, and
not the case.
That's not the case. Like tons of schools are losing tons of tickets. It's not like that. So
it'll all work out in the end if people are just patient with the process. And don't buy your tickets from third parties right now because you don't need to do that because they don't even have them.
Right.
Yeah.
They're fibbing you.
Yeah, they're advertising for it, hoping they will get them down the road. And then what they'll do is refund you, and then you'll be super mad. And then you'll be mad at the wrong people because you bought tickets from a third party that the people that actually control the tickets have no control over. So, yeah.
Hey, Drew.
Yo.
Can we get the NeWrestle boys to rock a mustache during the state wrestling meet?
Oh my goodness. No, not me. Maybe Cody. Jeez. I wish I didn't have to see that.
Hey, Drew, real quick.
Did your outfit that you wore to that party that was shown at the beginning here, did that come with a white unmarked van with your mustache and lollipops as well?
It came with an Uber. Thank you very much.
Oh, okay.
I
All right,
Ubered. I was responsible. I had a few drinks with my coworkers, and it was a great time had by all.
All right.
I'm happy for you. Hey, Chuck, for real, we talked about this last week though. The bet is real. If you get to, what is it?
I gotta get to 180.
180 by July, right?
Yep.
I will have a mustache in Fargo.
What are you sitting right now?
Oh, it's a little.
You got a little work to do. All right, man. All right.
I am down 8 pounds though.
That's a great start.
Yeah, 8 pounds in a month.
I could lose 8 pounds in 2 days if I needed to.
You're about to lose 140 of Mike Sauter.
140. I could go back to the wrestling days of cutting weight. I know I could handle it. I got it. All right, Drew, thanks a lot, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
we'll
guys.
obviously be following your work at NeWrestle. And yeah, that'll do it for this episode of the Mike Chuck Show. Again, tune in next week. Ron Higdon, the guy that you all want to talk to and complain about, will be our guest.
# leave Ron alone.
A Hurrdat Sports Network production.